Warm greetings to you all curious teachers of English. Now, I was not planning to make a video on motivation and on how we can increase our students' awareness of what it actually is and how it can be fostered. But I discovered that teachers attending the continuous professional development courses like my activity and think it is worth using in their language classrooms. So that nudged me to create a video explaining the framework of the lesson that will target not only the development of the 4 basic language skills in our students, but also the 4 C's. So let's get started, shall we? Activity 1 is meant to activate student schemata. We may ask our students to work in small groups to explain how motivation works. Distribute a worksheet with a curve on it and ask students to decide in what way that curve is connected with motivation. They can come up with interesting answers. For example, some may see it as a smile and link motivation with a person's enthusiasm, joy displayed when they are motivated. Once the schemata has been activated, get to activity 2. This time ask students to scheme a text and decide in their groups what the curve actually represents. Emphasize that this is just a quick reading and that they'll have the chance to read the text for details later on. This is the text. I'll read it so that we know its contents and get a better understanding of the expected responses from our students and the follow-up activities. Ever feel like a rock star at the beginning of your English learning journey, only to hit a slump later on? That's because everything feels new and exciting, like the thrill of deciphering your first sentence. But after a while, maybe you keep stumbling over irregular verb forms or that tricky "the" sound. It's normal. Learning a language is a marathon, not a sprint, and it's common to feel less motivated in the middle stages. However, don't let that discourage you. Keep going, and as you progress, you'll see your hard work pay off. Imagine the day you can confidently chat with native speakers or finally understand all the jokes in your favorite English movie. That renewed motivation will propel you forward and you'll reach your goals with a huge sense of accomplishment. Remember, ups and downs in motivation are part of the learning process. So buckle up, keep studying, and you'll absolutely succeed. After skimming, they should get the idea that motivation works in a curve, in a non-linear way. And that was exactly what the curve represented. It starts with a peak when they begin learning English, then declines, levels off in the middle stages, and finally rises again when they approach the end of the course. In Activity 3, we shall encourage them to read the text again. This time they should collaboratively identify what happens at every stage on the curve and mark it on the worksheet and present it to the rest of the class. We could expect answers like initial peak, when they start learning English, feeling like a rock star, excitement felt when they decipher their first sentence, middle stage, decline in motivation, stumbling over irregular verb forms or difficult sounds to pronounce. Final stages, getting to the same peaks as at the beginning because they can see how their hard work pays off. They can confidently chat with native speakers or finally understand all the jokes in their favorite English movie. Activity 4 is supposed to reinforce some of the vocabulary you may consider recycling with your students. So ask them to identify the emotions that should go with every stage they have included on the curve. For example, for feeling like a rock star, they may choose happiness. In the middle stages, when stumbling over irregular verbs, forms, or that tricky "the" sound, they may feel bored, sad. And finally, in the last stage of being propelled forward and close to reach their goals, they may again feel joy. In Activity 5, they are asked to define the components of motivation. But before, ask them to watch a short video clip with a woodpecker packing a tree. The first thing they should do is to come up with as many adjectives as possible describing the woodpecker within 1 minute. Each group is to name the adjectives that haven't been mentioned by the other groups. Usually they come up with such adjectives as hardworking, diligent, motivated, enthusiastic, persistent, consistent, persevering, assiduous, industrious, active, busy, etc. Challenge the students to determine the components of the bird's motivation. They should work in groups and then present the answers to the class. In the next activity, show them the video describing the components of what makes a person truly motivated. Ask them to summarize what they've seen in the video and compare with their answers. Thus, they should learn that motivation is the presence of a well-defined plan. In the woodpecker's case, it wants to make a hole in the tree to extract insects and tree sap. Draw the students' attention to how specific the goal is, so they should deduce the importance of setting specific and tangible goals. The second component is the presence of a safe environment. So the woodpecker seems to be calm because it doesn't feel threatened in any way and is motivated to keep going. The third component is visualization. The woodpecker can picture the way the realized goal looks like. Finally, the fourth component is about the presence of means to realize the goal. In the woodpecker's case, this is about the presence of a strong beak. In the final activity, you can encourage the students to identify the elements that will keep them studying English. They can write them down and then organize a gallery walk of their writings, encouraging them to leave feedback to their peers. So this was my idea of having a reading framework lesson targeting the development of both language skills and 4 C's through reading, speaking, and writing about motivation. Hope it was useful.